It's your girl Dia Direct, and I am so excited to share with you today that yes, oh yes, yes you can do better. Yes, it will get better. And yes, you are better than this. You know why I'm so happy to share that with you? Is because that's the lesson that I had to get for myself. See, I understand that so many are in a very challenging time because this last year has been so challenging with COVID-19 and being stricken by the coronavirus, whether it was physically, mentally, emotionally, some way, shape, or form, it has hit your life. It has changed the world as we know it. Rocked so many people's worlds upside down. Everything that you knew to be normal and regular has shifted. And now, even though the vaccine is here, the world is attempting to get back to a level of normalcy, we also know that there's a new normal. Regardless of the vaccine, things will never be exactly quite the same because we've all been changed in some way in the last year. Our priorities have changed. Our relationships have changed. Our situationships have changed. Our job situations, our money may have gotten funny, or it may have gotten great. You may have become an innovator during this time. Even though there's so many things to mourn, there are also many things to celebrate. And even if you can't see that right now, my hope and prayer is that by the time you're done with this episode, you will see the light, you will see the opportunity, you will see a new vision and hope for yourself. So let's get into it. I recall several years ago when I was really going through it and I had gotten laid off. And listen, the layoff was mutual, okay? I was ready. It was time. It was time for a new season. But you know how it is. You get used to the money. You get used to the status. You get used to life being the way that it's always been, which I'm sure you can relate to in some way, shape, or form, especially after this last year. And so during this time, I recognized that cash flow was going to be really important for me. And even though I didn't want to, I knew it was smart to sell my home, but it hurt. It was one of the biggest accomplishments that I had made. Now, my husband had sold his house. I didn't want to sell my house. And we had moved into a downtown apartment, because at this time we were still kind of coming together as a new couple. So we had already lived our lives. And now we were coming together as one, as a unit, which of course is its own journey. And I was definitely still holding on to the things that made me me, how I identified myself. That included what I did for a living. That included what I was able to purchase. And one of those things, of course, was my home. And so I remember one of the first podcasts that I had done was with Tammy Franklin. It was a 3-part series, and we were talking about love and relationship and the dynamic that her and Kirk Franklin had and how she was able to grow as an individual, but also as a couple. And then also what that looked like from a ministry perspective. So if you haven't heard or seen that podcast episode, I highly encourage you to check it out because for me, it was life-changing. One of the conversations that we had on and off the air was about me transitioning into marriage fully and completely and whether or not I was going to sell my home. And I was really, really struggling with it. And my husband and I have been talking about it. And every time he would bring it up, I would get really upset and highly irritated. And so sometimes it's not even that certain decisions aren't good or smart to do. Sometimes it's about who it's coming from. Sometimes it's about the timing, etc. But because I was talking to a woman, I trusted her perspective and I knew, she was coming from a good place. I was able to, for whatever reason, receive it from her differently. And one of the things she said to me was, Dia, if you're going to be in it, then go all the way in. Like, let it go. And God had to work on me privately. Sometimes you just need some time to process things. And by the way, that means we also have to give other people that same grace. Sometimes it's not that the things that you're sharing or encouraging others to do or it's right, but it's about the timing. People have to be ready to receive, able to process things in a way that they're able to move forward. And so I took that time And then I brought it back to my husband and I said, I think I'm ready to sell my home. And one of the things that he said to me after I cried like a little baby, I was just undone. I was just a mess. And I remember very distinctly, he said to me, "Why do you act as if this is the best that God can do?" I'm going to say that again because I'm hoping it hits you the way it hit me. Why are you acting as if this is the best that God can do? This is simply a circumstance in this season of your life. It's not the whole story. You can do better. More is waiting for you. But right now you got to do what you got to do. So as I thought about that question, why do you act like this is the best that you can do? My answer was, when I got quiet again, off to myself to process, is I realized maybe I did think that was the best that God could do. Maybe I thought that was the best that I could do. I had never seen myself in a 2,700 square foot home that I purchased on my own with 4 bedrooms and 2 bonus rooms and 2.5 bathrooms. Never even occurred to me that I could have something like that on my own. And so the fact that I was able to do that, obviously with God's grace and blessing, what if I could never have something like that again? Why would I give that up? And by the way, I am a little addicted to the idea of real estate. So I didn't want to give that up either, especially when you consider our history in this country as African Americans. Like, you don't give up land, property, because we have that historical experience of so much being taken from us. But that was my perspective. I didn't trust God. I wasn't sure if more was possible. But I'm here today to tell you, having come full circle, that yes, it does get better. And yes, you can get better. And yes, you will do better. And by the way, that better doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to be in quantity. It can be in quality. And yes, you do get to make new decisions about what works for your life. So that's a long way of saying welcome to this podcast episode. Today we're talking about you can do better. Oh, yes, you can. And there are 3 ways I want to share that with you. We're going to talk about how to get better, how to think better, and how to act better. So the first point I want to share with you is get better. I'm literally talking about positioning yourself to get better. And you might be saying, well, Dia, how do I do that? If you want to get better so that you can do better, purge. I'm not just talking about cleaning out the clutter in your closet, but I am talking about that too. But I'm also talking about going deeper, like really looking at where the waste is in your life. What are you hoarding? What are you holding on to that you no longer need? You know what I'm talking about. Those old letters, those old clothes, those old memories, those old hopes, those old dreams, those old images of yourself, those things that are old. Oh, those old friends, those old habits, all the ones that are no longer serving you well. When you look at your portfolio of what you do, how you do it, who you do it with, what's going on in your closet, right? The clothes that we hold on to, which symbolize so much of how we see ourselves. Well, we'll just hold on to this. I've had this in my closet for 10 years and I haven't worn it in 10 years, but I'm still holding on to it. That's not just us holding on to the clothes. That's us holding on to an image that no longer is. Even if we do get back to that weight, are we that age? Like, is it even age appropriate for you to be wearing that now? And even if it is, and you're like, well, all these things come back in style. Yeah, child, listen, I know all the head talk that we do, okay? It still goes back to the very first example that I gave. which is, why are you holding on to that and acting as if that's the best that God can do? God can replace the very thing you're holding on to. Why are you still in that relationship that is no longer serving you if it ever did? And by the way, this can be your man, this can be your girlfriends, this can be family members. It doesn't feel good to be around them anymore. They weigh you down. The good no longer outweighs the bad, and it's been that way for a long time, but it's like a blanket that we just don't want to let go of. It's like that old furniture that you know needs to go. The stain is not coming out, child. You need to go ahead and get some new furniture. This person is not changing. They don't mean you well. You're not even your best self with them. When you know that when you're around certain people or when you're in a relationship and you can't be your total full self, it's not healthy after a while. Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? You see, I've got to be honest with you. One of the best gifts I've ever given myself is the gift of therapy. And myself, along with BetterHelp, that's HELP, wants you to start living a happier life today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Superpower listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/mocha. You know, it's even the foods that we eat. We hold on to them because traditionally we've always eaten this way. This is the way we've always done it. Well, it's not serving you well, and it's not helpful to your ability to be healed. See, purging requires us to go deep. It requires us to ask ourselves, why am I still holding on to this? Why is it so hard for me to let this go? Why do I allow these people to still stay in my life? What is it about me? How is it that I feel about myself that says that I have to hold on to this to make me feel good? Like those old titles. Yes, life has changed a lot in the last year. You may never get back to that job. You may never have that title again. You might not even make that money again. That doesn't mean you can't make more or better. It just means you've got to release what you're holding on to so that you can make room for that which is next. And by the way, even if you don't know what that is, the first next step is to let go of what was. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Even if you don't know what is to come, right? Which is what faith is. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. And see, because we don't know what's next, it's scary, it's uncomfortable. So we're going to hold on to dear life. We're going to hold on to what we do have. If you find yourself holding on too tight, that's probably a good sign that you need to let it go. And by the way, I'm going to give you one good tidbit. It's better for you to let it go than to be let go. Because when your time is up, when it's time for a new season, when it's time for you to move, even during that uncomfortable time, and I know what that wilderness feels like. It's so scary, but literally that's the time where God is trying to get you to release so that he can reveal, and more importantly, so that you can be healed. You got to clean out the wound. You got to purge the wound. When I was little, we used to use peroxide when we fell and scraped our knee or our elbow. My grandmother would use peroxide to clean it out. You got to purge it. You got to clean it out so that it could heal properly. You got to get all that debris and dirt and stuff that doesn't belong inside out. You got to get that stuff outside of your heart. All that stuff that's weighing you down for the very thing that you want. You got to get it out. That's how you get better. You got to purge. Number 2. Think better. I know, but as a man or woman thinketh, so is he or she. I will continue to say that because it's so true. Mindset is so important, how we think. But even when we have the faith of a mustard seed, like a little bit of faith, like so much has happened in your life that has bogged you down. So much has happened maybe that has disappointed you or things that haven't worked out, right? That it's hard to be positive. It's hard to think positive. You know why? Because we're afraid that if we think positive, if we actually hope, if we actually really just put it in our minds that, oh, this could happen and we get excited, we're so afraid often of being disappointed again that we won't even allow ourselves to elevate our minds. I remember one time I was doing this event and I was so riddled with anxiety. Yeah, it was just anxiety. I was anxious. I was nervous. I had invested all of my own money to make it happen, to create this event for women called the Super Self-Care Power Summit. Hopefully we'll be doing it again soon in the near future. But I just knew I was called to do it. I just knew that I wanted women to learn how to take care of themselves better and to take time out for themselves. And I decided I didn't want to wait anymore for somebody to give me an opportunity because I was actually the opportunity. The opportunity was me. The vision was mine. And when you have something in your mind that is nagging at your soul and your spirit and your thoughts, that means where there's a need, you lead. Right? If you're the one that sees it, if you see the need, that means you're the one that's supposed to do something about the need. And I guess as I was preparing for this event and was about to start, I had just a look of anxiety on my face that I just wasn't aware of. And one of my vendors asked me what was wrong, and I was like, oh, I'm just so worried, and what if nobody shows up, and blah, 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 blah. And she said to me very simply and very calmly, elevate your thinking, Dia. Elevate your mind. She said, vibrate higher. And that sounded so new agey to me. But I really got it after a while. What she was talking about was shift your energy. Because remember, energy doesn't have a beginning, nor does it have an end. But it does replace itself, which means even if you have negative energy, even if you have negative thinking, you can literally substitute that negativity, the heaviness, for positivity. How do you do that? In the moment, by being mindful. When we think of mindfulness, it's not just like meditating. It's not just doing yoga. It's not, chanting. Being mindful is being aware in real time. I'm a life coach in social and emotional intelligence. What is that? It's just what I described. It's our ability to be self-aware in real time and aware of others at the same time. So what is it that I know to be true about myself in the moment? What I know to be true about myself in the moment, or yourself in the moment, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, being aware of that in the moment is mindfulness. Once you become aware of what you're doing, then you have the ability to say, oh, I'm going down a downward spiral. I need to do something about this. I need a positive thought. It could be turning on your favorite song. You know that song that gets you encouraged, that gets you energized, that gets your mind excited, that makes you feel good, feel like yourself. It might be putting on makeup. It might be doing your hair or giving yourself a facial or changing your clothes or going to work out and going for a walk. All of these things, we know that walking and moving is literally, again, an energy shift. It can change your energy. It can make you feel better. And it's not just good for your heart. It's not just good for your body, but it's good for your mind. It's good for your spirit to get outside, to look at the environment, to smell the roses, literally, to look at the trees and the greenery and have that oxygen feed your brain. All of those things shift your mood. It shifts your mindset. It shifts your whole being. And so in those moments, when you find yourself going down that downward spiral, because you know how it is. Once you start on one negative thought, then it just compounds and compounds and compounds. And sometimes it seems like the negative outweighs the positive, which means we have to be very deliberate and intentional about being positive. It's not being fake. It's about helping yourself. This is a part of the getting better. This is a part of the healing process. This is the number 2. This is thinking better. That means consciously changing your mind because you can. And changing your mind, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do with your circumstance. Your circumstances can stay the same, but how you see your circumstances can change. I'm going to prove it to you. Let me just break down the word circumstance for you. Circum, you know what that means? It means what's going around. It's circular. It's happening all around you. But what's the other part of that word? The other part of that word is stance. That means you can literally stand firm and strong in what you know and believe and what you're intentional about, regardless of what's going on around you. That's why two people can be in the same situation and have a very different outcome. And it starts with how they think. I'm going to give you another example. Here's how I knew I needed to shift my energy. And this speaks to both the social and emotional side of the intelligence that I talked about earlier. So I was in a relationship many years ago. It wasn't a healthy relationship. Even relationships that aren't good for you are there to teach you something, right? Everything that happens to you can happen for you. And in this relationship, he was a cheater, he was a liar, he was a lot of things. But when I started to wake up and come into myself, and I started to really see what was going on, then I had a visceral reaction. And I began to not be as vulnerable and gullible in this relationship. And I began to call a thing. And he didn't like it. And you know what? And I went hard in the paint. But also, there was something that happened that shifted me. We were having an argument. And so I told this brother everything I really wanted to say, and I didn't care how it came out. And he said to me, you know, Dia, you go too hard. If I wanted to date a man, that's what I would do. Hold on a second. I thought I was very feminine. My hair was laid. My makeup was tight. My clothes were all name brand purse, this, that, and the other. But my energy was masculine. So even though he was wrong about a lot of things, you know, both can be true. People can not be good or right in one area, and they can be absolutely right in another. Both things can be true at the same time. I was right about how I felt, but he was right about my energy. And he checked me. And I had to take it in for a second because it hit me. That's how I know it was true, because it convicted my spirit, because I knew that I was not being my best self. I wasn't walking in my higher self. I wasn't vibrating higher, if you will. No, I was down in the ditches. It was the lowest common denominator. Like, I was very base. Like, there was no intellect happening. I was raw emotion, right? Have you ever just been so mad, so raw that you just go all the way in and you don't think, and you do things and you say things that you can't take back? That's not using your higher brain. That's not using your higher energy. That's using your lower energy. And in that moment, it makes us feel powerful. But the results of those actions are usually counterproductive to what we really want. And so if you find yourself in your thinking, which ultimately results in what you will do next, making decisions and saying things where you're not going to be proud of yourself afterwards, that's when you take that beat. That's when you stop. That's when you use emotional intelligence. And you do something like this. When you find yourself thinking that way, when you find yourself about to say something, and you stop and you ask yourself, now, will I be proud of myself if I continue to do this? How am I going to feel about myself? Will I be proud? Is this going to get me the results that I ultimately want? Or is it just going to make me feel powerful in this moment? Is it going to speak to my brand ultimately? Is it going to help me on the job with my reputation? Is it going to help me elevate what I'm trying to do next? Is it a good use of my energy? Because just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Oh, I can do a lot of things. I can say a lot of things, but should I do it? This is actually what led me to Soft Power. My book, Soft is the New Power, Embracing Your Feminine Edge to Win in Love and Life, is a book that was actually birthed out of this conversation that I had with my ex. And the book goes much deeper than just male and female relationships, but it goes there too. But it actually led me to do research on soft power and what that means. which is actually a political term. And ultimately, it's really about your ability to understand others, what they like and desire, and to give them a little bit of what they like or desire, to speak to them in a way that appeals to them so that you get what you want and they get some of what they want. But you use your higher self. You use your strategic ability to appeal to others in a softer way. Or as the old folks say, you get more with honey than you do vinegar. Or as the Bible says, a soft answer turns away wrath. Now, the other reason that I began to embrace soft power, which, by the way, is something that must be practiced because it's not necessarily my natural state of being. I have to work on it. I don't always get it right, but when I do, it works. And it works well. If you don't believe me, ask my husband, okay? Because when I'm no longer walking in my soft power, he notices quickly. And he's like, what's going on? Who are you? And what happened to my wife? Yeah. Frankly, sometimes I just don't feel like being soft. Sometimes I'm just tired. Sometimes I'm stressed out and I have anxiety and I got a lot going on, just like you. But you know what that is? That's also a clue that I probably need to slow down. That's the moment when you and I need to begin to use our emotional intelligence and say, okay, what's going on right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what happens when I normally think like this? What happens when I keep going down this road? We're all at a point in life right now where you're probably not having a first time thought. You know some of your patterns. So you know if you go down this spiral, you're going to get caught up. That's the full circle moment for me. I realized that once I started going down that negative spiral of thoughts, it led me to a point of no return in the way that I carried myself, in the way that I speak to others, and it also impacted my ability to progress. See, what happens is when you start thinking wrong for too long, you will get stuck. You will get stuck. It will hinder you. It will not serve you well. I know this for a fact because it almost cost me my life. In the name of feeling sorry for myself, in the name of being in an unhealthy relationship, all because I thought wrong for too long. That might not be your story. It might be something completely different. But I'm telling you, I know for a fact that if you don't get a hold of how you think, it will kill you. And if it doesn't kill you physically, it will kill you spiritually. And if it doesn't kill you spiritually, it will kill you mentally. It will take you out. It will send you down drinking too much, eating too much, sleeping too much, something too much or not enough. So you got to catch it. Elevate your mindset in the moment. Say, oh no, I know what this is. Get a hold of yourself. Catch yourself in the moment and replace that negative thought with something positive. It doesn't even have to be the same thing. It could just be you dancing. Something. All those examples that I gave, it's just a shifting of energy that we have to elevate. And thirdly, the last point that I have is act better. When you know better, you do better. But that's not just eating healthy, because I learned that it's good to eat kale. It's that too. It's also allowing yourself to grow in the difficult places. For instance, if you know that when things get uncomfortable, you have a tendency to shut down. If you know that when you're on a faith walk or things get scary, you have a tendency to go back to what you used to do, to who you used to do it with, even though you know it's not good for you. I'm going to challenge you today to not go back to your old habits. Act better so that you can grow. Like you already know how to do that other stuff. One of the other things that I share in the book, Soft is the New Power, as it relates to being a single woman, like I already know that God's got me. I've had enough experiences as a single woman to know that at least to a certain point of what I've already accomplished, that I can do that. I know how to do that. I've already told you, I know how to have the house on my own and be proud of myself and have the job, and some of which I didn't even think I could do. But then when I did do it, I was proud of myself. I felt good. And I'm going to tell you something about levels of success. When you get to where whatever you think there is, you realize it's not all that you thought it was going to be. Most people, whenever they get to that they're like, okay, that was cute. What else you got? Is this it? Nothing else? For me, I no longer wanted to do life alone. So I had to make new decisions. Like, I know how to do me, but that also required that I had to grow outside of my own comfort zone to be able to do life with my now husband. And it's not always easy. It's often uncomfortable because I know how to do things on my rhythm and it gets the result that I want when I want it. But I already know what that's like. So this new level, whatever your new level is, whether it's a new position or you're working with a new team, or you're in a new environment, or your living arrangements have shifted, it's going to require some growth. And I like to often share that growth is never fun necessarily. There are moments, but growth can be very uncomfortable. That's why when they use manure as an example on grass, that's stinky. But the nutrients inside of it, the minerals and the nutrients and what it does to the grass, it helps it to grow. So don't think because something doesn't feel good that it's not good for you. Some things are happening right now to help you to grow. So act better. This time, don't run away, because we often find ourselves back in the same position that we want to get away from because we can't take the heat, because we can't take the discomfort of the growth, because we want things to be our way, when we want it, how we want it. And you know what we say? Oh no, I'm not doing this. I don't like this. So we act out instead of acting better. But grow up and stop acting out. You know what's going on. You know you're acting out. You know you can do better. You know you don't need to keep holding that grudge. You know that forgiveness is necessary, not for them, but for you, so that you can get released, so that you can get free, so that you're not carrying that weight. Act better. Say hello. Speak. Call that person. Apologize. Say I'm sorry. I want to do better. I want things to work. It doesn't mean you're going to kiss their butt. It doesn't mean that you have to be best friends. It just means you need to get free. Act better. You can't just say you're better. You can't just think you're better than people. If you really want to get better, if you really want to do better, then do something better. Your actions should be better. You should be the mature person. For your own sake, pass the test, so that you don't have to take it again. Because if you don't pass the test, you will get stuck and you will not move forward. And so when it comes to that soft thing that I was talking about that led me to writing the book, being soft wasn't about being weak. It wasn't about being a pushover. It was about creating an atmosphere for my heart to soften up, because that downward spiral was taking me out. It was hardening my heart. I was no longer able to be my full self. I wasn't even able to tap into my feminine energy. I was so far gone, I didn't even realize how masculine I had become. So the very thing that I wanted was to have a loving and nurturing relationship couldn't come to me until I purged, until I released some of that hardness so that I could make room for my soft and feminine energy again. Understanding that it didn't make me weak, but it made me wise. It was a good strategy because I needed to get that stuff out. I needed the peroxide to chemically clean out all that yuckiness that was in my heart and my soul and my mind, so that I could start with a clean slate. And by the way, that hardness was making me sick with headaches and anxiety and fear and frustration. If you ever just laid down but you couldn't sleep because your mind was just going so much, because you're just worked up. You're so worked up that it wears you out. It was wearing me out. I couldn't take just being this person anymore. It wasn't serving me well anymore. I needed to tap into something new. I needed to grow. I already know that anytime I need to call up Dia Direct, anytime I need to go hard in the paint, anytime I need to fight for my rights or for somebody else's rights or just go hard, I got that. I already know how to do that. I needed to learn how to be something else. I needed to expand and grow my thinking. I needed to expand and grow my approach so that I could prepare my mind, my body, and my spirit for that next level of what I wanted next. That's the season we're in right now. And I know it's hard and you might be like, well, Dia, you don't know my circumstance. I say, I do know. I do know that whatever your circumstance is, you can stand. And whatever is going on around you in that it doesn't have to control you. You can be mindful and thoughtful and elevate your mind, which will ultimately help you to elevate your circumstance, one step at a time. So, yes, you can do better. We all can. We can't do it all at the same time. We can't get it all done today, but we can make small, intentional decisions by being mindful and by embracing emotional intelligence. Ask ourselves the questions about why do I feel how I feel? What do I really want to do? And what decision can I make that will ultimately make me proud of myself? One proud moment will lead to another. One moment, one action, one step, one day at a time. I hope and pray that this episode has blessed your heart, your mind, your soul, and your spirit. If it has, please subscribe to this podcast, like it, leave a comment, and share it with somebody who you know they need it. You know. And listen to this one over and over again until it gets into your spirit, until you really start doing better, thinking better, acting better. I'm your girl, Dia Direct, and this is Superpower Her, where women of power and women with powerful stories testify to help you make your pain pay you back. Blessings.